Welcome to the Kentucky Wesleyan Football Panthers Den, a weekly visit with Kentucky Wesleyan football coach J.J. Johnson and Century TV2 Sports Director Jerry Birge. The Panthers Den features game highlights, comments from Coach Johnson, and a look ahead to the Panthers' next opponent on the football field. And now, let's go to the Panthers Den.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Panthers Den. I'm Jerry Birge. This, of course, is J.J. Johnson, head coach of the Kentucky Wesleyan Panthers. Talk about your challenges. Playing without your number one quarterback, one that had rolled up 1,500-plus yardage. Playing with you're a pass-oriented team playing on a rain-soaked football field in the rain, faced with a must-win situation if you have any chance at a winning season, and going against a tradition-rich University of Chicago football team. All those challenges faced the Panthers last Saturday at Apollo Stadium, and, Coach, they came through like champions.
Oh, they sure did. I was real proud of the team and the coaches and everybody. We hung together. Times have been against us lately. You know, we've had some bad breaks, but you know, we always talk about adversity, and adversity is opportunity, and the kids made the most of it in a pretty wet day.
Let's talk about those challenges. First of all, the challenge of playing without number one quarterback Eric Stockton, who's sidelined for the rest of the year, perhaps for his career, with that pinched nerve in his neck. And Chris Warren had to step in and really came through like a champ.
He did. You know, it was nice to know that Chris had a whole week. We knew that Eric wasn't going to play in. You know, as sad as it was, at least we knew. And Chris Warren has gotten a lot better in 1 week. He's got the respect of his teammates. He did a heck of a job running the football team under real adverse conditions. Made the big throws when he had to, and I thought played an excellent game.
You know, it's tough enough for a veteran like Stockton to run a pass-oriented offense, but when you suddenly step in, as Chris had to do, and then you step in with a wet football on a wet field, and in the second half it's rain, boy, that adds to it. It opens up all kinds of possibilities for mistakes and turnovers. There were a lot of turnovers in the game. Fortunately, most of them were against Chicago. But that ball's hard to hold on to when you get out to it. It's right so far.
Sure is. Jerry, like a bar of soap at times for Chris. And, you know, we threw the ball a lot. People thought I was crazy, but when everybody thought we were going to run. And then what people didn't realize was Craig Angel, our offensive right tackle, went down during the game with an elbow injury, couldn't play. Brian Benjamin was out. We had about 4 or 5 linemen out of position, and guys were just sucking it up and trying to play, and we're getting holding calls and everything. And what we know best is to throw the ball short, so that's what we're trying to do.
And, of course, as we went into that ball game, I mentioned another challenge facing the team. It was indeed a must-win situation. The Panthers were 4-4 for the year. It doesn't take a math major to figure out if you're 4-4 and you have 2 games left, the only way you're going to finish with a winning season is to win both those games. So if there ever was a case where it's a must-win situation, it was must-win. And I'm sure that was on the mind of the kids when they took the field, knowing that they have to win this game if they're going to match last year's 6-4 record.
Oh, definitely, you know, and I was very proud to be part of the 6-4 team last year. It was the best ever. We didn't have a lot of injuries. Everything fell into place. This year it seems we've had a struggle uphill, but our expectations have been real high. My own personally, our coaching staff, and the players. They don't want losing seasons anymore. They're not going to tolerate it, and I was proud of the way they handled it. And they went out and said, we're just not going to lose.
You know, there was just very little tradition with the Kentucky Wesleyan football program in the first 10 or 11 years as it grew up. Last year, with its first winning season, that's a start of somewhat of a winning tradition at KWC. This year now, 5-4, 2 straight non-losing seasons. But we took the field Saturday against a team that a lot of people may not have realized goes all the way back to the Big Ten, way back in the 20s or so. The University of Chicago, there are so many endowments up there. They have such great funding at that school. It's a very wealthy small school in Chicago. And, of course, you know, they're able to put together a very, very top-class Division III football program.
Oh, definitely. You know, they have a lot of advantages. Try to get a hold of their coach night before the game and find them at the executive end. You know, usually don't find teams staying there, but they were. And we use that. You know, once the game starts, you can put your bank book away. It doesn't matter. It's who wants to play football more, and that's the way we look at it, and that's where kids go after people. It's not the size of, you know, the dog in the fight. It's the fight in the dog is the way we look at it. And our kids played well all day long in very adverse conditions, and instead of getting mad, we put on the board FUN, fun, football under not ideal conditions is the way we look at it.
They were certainly not ideal conditions, but the defense certainly made the challenge. The defense came up with a school record 6 pass interceptions in the ball game, 3 pass interceptions by Troy Chrisman. Just a great effort by the defense.
Oh, it was. Without a doubt, I told the defense after the game, hey, they won the ball game. And on the radio, Joel was there that day, and I told him, without the defense, we wouldn't have won this football game. They came through big. Second half, the third quarter, instead of letting the team go right down the field on us, which has happened sometimes this year, they had the wind, and we had to stop them, and we did. And in fact, they gave us the ball back, and one time on the 4-yard line after Ryan Davis intercepted, and I called the plays on offense, and even I can't script a 4-yard drive, so we got it in the end zone, and twice they put us in position to score, and that got us way ahead before the monsoon hit.
I noticed, too, in the first drive, touchdown drive of the ball game, the kind of drive that you love to see, especially in those weather conditions. An 80-yard touchdown drive in 15 plays, capped off by Bobby Ratcliffe's TD. Just kind of picture perfect right there. That shows Chris really running the ball club.
He really did. It was great because the wind was against us. We couldn't pass. The receivers all kept off the field telling me, Coach, I'm wide open. I can get deep.
You can't get the ball there.
And then all strong Chris's arm. So we told him we're going to have to set it up and work hard on the ground and run the ball and mix it up. And we ran a lot of bootlegs at a very good defensive unit. Their defensive right end that Craig Angel was playing against with one arm was a tremendous football player. We booted right at him and threw the ball to Willie Weaver all the way down the field and ran it when we had to and used up the first quarter, and that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Adverse conditions like we had Saturday certainly leads to strange things on the gridiron. 2 safeties in the ball game, one in the first quarter, one in the fourth quarter for Chicago. You don't often see 2 safeties in the same game, for especially the losing team. One just happened, the other was kind of by design.
Right, the first one, that was a poor call by me. I thought we could get it out of there and fool them on the draw, and we just didn't block them up front, and they came in and got Bobby in the end zone. And I don't think I've ever been behind 2 nothing in my coaching career, and even my playing career, and it was kind of different. At the end of the game, rain was coming down, the wind was against Mark Bennett, and Mark, he wanted to run it out of there.
He even did that earlier.
6 points is too much right now, but, run around a little bit and step out of the back, and we'll kick off, and we'll give them 2 points. And I told Roy, I said, that must be some sort of a school record. And he said, JJ, 10 years ago, there was a lot of weird things happening. There was a lot of weird things 10 years ago.
10 years ago, there were some safeties scored that the people didn't even realize what they were. They weren't sure if it was a safety or what. But there were 2 safeties for Chicago, but the defense gave up only 1 touchdown, and it was just a great effort. 26-12. The Panthers a winner. It gives them a 5-4 record for the season. The Maroons of Chicago dropped to 5-4. And we do have some great highlights. You'll see in the highlights in a moment. The second half gets a little dark out there. It's kind of tough to follow the action in the downpour. But we will be back with highlights of the Kentucky Wesleyan, the University of Chicago football game after this timeout. Actually, the weather wasn't that bad early in the ball game, as you'll see in the highlights. Just a little bit of a rain. The turf was soft, a little bit wet, but not a bad turf out there at Apollo Stadium. It took a lot of damage over there.
The field was great. It's been in great condition, and really held up from getting torn up and everything, and it wasn't really slippery. The big thing was the wind in the first half. It was tremendous wind.
I know our camera person, a young lady here, Pat, was on the roof of the press box, and I think she was standing there and lifted her off the ground, when she came back down. Of course, she's only about half the size of some of our other camera people that we have around here, but that was a challenge to our people to get the game produced. And
we almost lost a few coaches up there, too.
Yeah, we almost lost them off the top of the press box. Let's take a look at the highlights. Kentucky Wesleyan hosting the University of Chicago at Apollo Stadium.
Here's first down and 10 for Kentucky Wesleyan.
Our first offensive play of the game is a big one. Cedric Robinson slips, but still manages to throw the halfback passes to complete through Marcus Churchwell for a 41-yard gain.
He tried to trick him even in the wind, and it really worked, but the wind got the ball back. Took one of the good catch.
And he almost went down, too, so he did. 2 plays later, on a 3rd and 13, Bobby Ratcliffe picks up 28 yards on the golf ball.
Great blocking at the point of attack, and Bobby broke it open. It was a big play for us.
Bobby Ratcliffe with a big gainer right off the bat to establish our running game. Chicago gets the ball on a pass interception and is moved to the Wesleyan 24 when Ben Nelson comes up with a big defensive play, throwing the Chicago tailback for a loss.
Our defense has been bend, but not very lately, and Ben and the seniors have been playing great.
Chicago still threatens and has a fourth down at the Wesleyan 5 where the defense holds to stop the threat. That was a big effort.
It was. Not to let him in was huge, but then unfortunately we give him 2 points.
Moments later, after Chicago takes a 2-0 lead on a safety, the Maroons have the ball at their own 46 where Brock Bickley throws the tailback for a 2-yard loss, forcing them to punt.
Brock, our D-line is playing better and better. They played a super game.
He's got his back. Warren hands off to Ratcliffe, who goes 24 yards for the first down.
Wraparound drop there, we caught it, and Rob was our biggest running player of the day.
Right in front of the coach and teammates and everything right there. Watch this play in the closing seconds of the first quarter. Jeremy Sleeter stopped after a short gain. He laterals to quarterback Chris Warren for a couple of extra yards at the 6-yard gain.
The play was right up there. In fact, if I told Jeremy, don't ever do that again.
I was going to say, I didn't think you'd be real thrilled with that particular play. Early in the second quarter, Warren hits Churchwell for an 11-yard gain. A great catch here by Marcus, but with one hand. The play was blown dead before the fumble.
Right, it was a screen pass to Marcus, made a great catch. The wind just changed direction of the ball.
On the very next play, Warren hits Willie Reuvers for 11 yards and another first down.
This was that big play on the drive. He hit the bootleg to Willie 4 times on his first drive.
And it is a little wet at Apollo Stadium on Saturday. Again, it's Warren to Reaver. Willie makes it into the end zone. But the official rules, he steps out of bounds here at the 20.
Right, it was real close, real hard to tell.
Right there. He was there very quickly and said, whoops, you're out of bounds. The same combination clicks Warren to Reaver, this time for 11 yards as the drive continues.
Chris made great throws. He got over the big defensive lineman, but we wanted to attack him because he was so quick.
2 plays later, Ratcliffe goes in from 8 yards out for a first score of the ballgame to cap off that 80-yard drive. The PAT kick is blocked, and we take a 6-2 lead at the 12-minute mark in the second quarter. Some of the baseball score 6-2. Our defense holds. We force them to punt. And watch here, it's blocked by Anthony Payton.
Anthony Payton, a certain unit we put in, we won't say who those guys are, but the punt block unit, and they did a great job and changed the whole complexion of the game.
That was a great effort there by the Panthers to block the punt. We take over at the Chicago 18 and score again quickly. You'll see this. Warren at quarterback, he goes to Robinson for the touchdown.
It's been a big play guy, and he set a record for touchdowns this year, and points, and set his guys to get in the end zone.
It's a big score for the Panthers, the second score of the game, taking advantage of that block punt. And now the same combination clicks for the 2-point conversion. Warren to Robinson for 2.
This is just a great catch. As soon as Chris threw it, I thought, well, that one's going away. And all of a sudden, everyone way after that. A tremendous catch.
And it enables us to take a 14-2 lead. A couple of big plays here to the defense. Brent Hoy throws the Maroon quarterback for a 2-yard loss.
Great pressure by our defensive line, and then Brent Hoy comes in and cleans up.
And we're going to show the defense again here. They had some big plays. Troy Chrisman, Jesse Arambidi, and Ben Nelson team up to sack the quarterback for a 5-yard loss.
Coach Ron James and Benson Hoy had a great game plan. They went after him, and our defense responded.
Later, Chicago scores and has a 2-point conversion, cuts our lead to 14-10. Chicago has the ball back following a KWC punt. Black and Ben lead a defensive charge that throws the tailback for a 4-yard loss.
They were playing so good, Jerry. I didn't really worry about it. Once we were ahead 14-10, I knew our defense would hold them.
After 3 punt exchanges, time runs out. We leave the field at halftime and join a 14-10 lead. And I don't think there was a dry uniform on the field. In the first play of the second half, Wesleyan's Troy Chrisman intercepts the Chicago pass. He pitches it to Ryan Davis, who goes into the end zone, but they rule he was out of bounds at the 27.
This one was real close also. We thought it was a touchdown in our films, but then again, we were standing over there. We're not resting. We're by it.
And we're not going to argue about it right now. One play later, Warren rolls to the left and passes 25 yards to Churchwell for the touchdown.
Great block by Jack Garrett to get Chris outside, and what a tremendous throw by Chris. You know, on the run, in the rain, and Marcus got himself wide open, and he's a big play guy.
The PAT kick is no good, and with 14:02 left in the third quarter, we take a 20-10 lead. Later in the quarter, Chicago's deep in its own territory. The Maroons go to the air. Ryan Davis intercepts, and we get the ball off the Chicago 5.
All-time interceptor, just added to his total, just a great kid, and we're going to miss him, but he's pretty fired up.
Yes, he is tough. 3 plays later, watch Jeremy Slade. He goes high in the air and into the end zone for the score.
He got in. That's all you got to do is get a ball over the line.
We missed the 2-point conversion attempt, and our lead is 26-10 with 6:05 showing on the clock. Still later in the third quarter, after an exchange of punts, Chicago has the ball at midfield when Anthony Tate comes up with a pass interception.
Defense just, they had a throw, and the defense just kept coming up with interceptions, and they left the ball back. We didn't score anymore, but this is what we needed.
Chicago has the ball back early in the fourth quarter, and a driving rain. Troy Chrisman comes up with still another pass interception.
Troy, he's got 2 interceptions and no return yards.
After Chicago gets the ball back on a pass interception of their own, the Maroons are in the shotgun at the 40. Chrisman gets his 3rd interception of the game to tie a KWC record.
Right, and no return yards.
Troy Chrisman is 3rd interception of the game.
Yeah, there.
2 big plays for us, real big plays in the game.
That's his 3rd, and the Panthers are headed for a school record in pass interceptions. In the rain, Jeremy Sleet splashes for 7 yards on this play.
Right, and just so people know, we got a makeshift O-line in there right now. They haven't played together a whole lot. Trying to move the ball is tough at the end of the game in those conditions.
Louis Vine gets the call and picks up 9 wet yards.
I almost broke this one in the way of the referee a little bit.
Louis Vine gets the carry. He doesn't get a carry off, and he made use of it as his teammates watch from the sidelines. Chicago threatens late in the game. Watch this. The pass is batted around before Ryan Davis comes up with a 6th interception.
Sure was. He was trying to share it a little bit. I think
big volleyball.
Typically, they work out every day, and it finally pays off. Didn't have to get it to it.
That makes you feel good. They said, wait a minute. The coach knew what he was talking about in practice. We got ready for this. Later, after a second, Chicago safety cut the score to 26-12 Wesleyan. The rain continues. Time runs out, and the Panthers leave the wet Apollo Stadium field with their 5th win of the season. The final score, 26-12. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big one for us. You know, we're getting greedy. We want 6, but you got to get 5 to get 6, and everybody knows that 5 wins is a big thing around here. You know, we haven't had that, and we're out there.
Only 2nd time ever.
Hey,
we've had that many wins in a season.
You know, my expectations were real high, and so were the team. Even though we knew we had a lot of real great teams to play against, and we got a great one this Saturday, but what a way for the seniors to go out if they could be the first one to beat a Division I team.
How tough is it in the rain and that weather field? What effect does that have on a ball game?
The rain is one thing, and that's a problem, but to me the wind is tougher. I'm an old quarterback, and you can't really control the wind at all. So you got wind and rain, it makes it doubly hard. And we did have some injuries on your O-line, and if you don't have your O-line, you can't run your pass or you run offense, and those kids, and I was getting on, we were both playing hard, and they're playing out of position. We had some holding calls, so there was a lot of things against us. But then again, I told them I was proud of at the end because you came up the winner.
We handled a difficult situation a little better than Chicago, and it paid off for a win, 26-12. The Panthers' 5th win of the season. They'll try for number 6 this Saturday in their season finale at home against the Crusaders of Valparaiso. We'll be back after this. The 1994 Kentucky Wesleyan football schedule included 3 dates with NCAA Division I AA schools, Austin Peay, a scholarship program, University of Evansville, a 1AA non-scholarship, and Valparaiso University, a 1AA non-scholarship that plays in the Pioneer League, the same league with the University of Evansville. And, by the way, Valpo beat Evansville this year, a good Evansville ball club. They beat Aurora last week in the rain at Valpo, 28-10, to give the Crusaders a 6-3 record heading into the first meeting ever between the Panthers and Crusaders. What a way to wrap up the season. It would be a great way to wrap it up with a victory against a Division I team. What does this Valpo Crusader ball club feature offensively?
Offensively, they're a tremendous offensive team. They have a running back named Ozzie Young, who is second only to Arnold Mickens, who's on ESPN every week. He's a man that gets 200-some yards a game from Butler. And Ozzie Young is right behind him, averaging about 160 yards a game. and he's got a lot of speed. They run the option, so we're going to have to take him out. But they have their quarterback back, who was injured for a while and playing on a gimpy knee, and he had a big game versus their option. They run the option. They'll do a lot of different things, but the option is their main weapon. And they've got a good offensive line, and they've just got a lot of weapons at us.
Defensively, any problems there?
Oh, definitely. They play a 52 defense, and they're going to have 5 linemen, and they bring, they come hard. They bring the house at you, and we're going to have to block well up front. And everybody knows we're missing a tackle and a guard right now, and Cedric and Eric. So, we told the coach, I told him, geez, be nice to us and everything like that. But we got a lot of players that are going to step up and play hard, and we're just going to have fun on Saturday.
I know a fan listening right now heard you say we're missing Eric and Cedric, and they say, whoa, wait a minute. Cedric Robinson played last week, and we understand this is Wednesday. We still got a couple of days before the game against Valpo. But unfortunately, Cedric Robinson, a big question mark for the ballgame.
He is. Right now, obviously Eric's out. Craig Angel, our starting right tackle, is out. And Cedric right now is considered 99% out.
What's wrong with Cedric?
He had a sprained ankle going into the game, as we know, for the last few weeks. Now he has a sprained knee, and it's nothing ligament damage or anything. It's just a weak knee right now, and he really can't play, and he wants to play real bad. He broke some records. He broke the touchdown, or he tied the touchdown record of 11 in the season of Bobby Radcliffe last weekend. He broke the all-time points record. He scored 70 points this year, and he's also 12 yards from breaking Hannibal Butler's all-time single-season yardage record. So he wants to get out there and get over 12 yards, and I'm really not into an individual-type record person. As long as we get 6 at the end, whichever plays and he helps, it would be super. If he doesn't play and we win, that's fine.
Okay, it'd be a nice record to have, but of course the game comes first, and I'm sure Cedric would say that too.
Oh, Cedric's a great team player. I mean, he knows that his success individually has led to our team's success, but Cedric is a quality young man, and hopefully we're going to get him to stay here. He wants to stay here this summer and everything, and keep working, and he's only a sophomore, and he's already breaking Hannibal's records. That says volumes about Cedric Robinson.
That 52 defensive Valpo, of course, is just going to put added pressure on Chris Warren in Saturday's final, too.
It is. And they like to play what we call a ghost end. They will put one guy always away from our tight end, and he just rushes, kind of like Lawrence Taylor type. And we've got a couple different looks that we're going to try and make life difficult for that kid playing that spot. But, yes, they want to put the heat on Chris Warren, but Chris can handle it.
Kentucky Wesleyan going to have its hands full against the Crusaders of Valpo, but they've met the challenges all season long, taking a 5-4 record into the final game this Saturday at Apollo Stadium. Kickoff is 1 o'clock. It looks like it's going to be a great day weather-wise, especially when you compare it. Of course, anything would be a great day compared to last Saturday, but this coming Saturday, hopefully it's going to be a great day for college football. 1 o'clock, come out and follow those Panthers. We'll be back with the final word in the Panthers' Den after we take this time out.
You choose your pharmacist as carefully as you do your doctor. At Mayfair Pharmacy and Medical Center Pharmacy, Ed Rice and
Diamond Lanes or Diamond Lane South.
Be the last home game of the season, the last game of the season for Kentucky Wesleyan Saturday at Apollo Stadium going against Valpo. It also means it's the last game for 13 outstanding young men, the seniors of Kentucky Wesleyan. And this isn't quite fair to you, Coach. We've been kind of scribbling names now. We don't have a roster handy. Let's talk quickly. Brack and Ben, a couple of...
Brack, Ben and Blake, and Dan Fuller on our defensive line. So we're going to wipe out the defensive line by graduation for sure. Secondary, Ryan Davis, obviously he's going to be leaving us. Skip Merritt, those are our defensive players that I recall right now.
Some big linemen like Blake. And
right.
Bobby Radcliffe,
senior.
Andrew Atkinson,
Greg Graham, Paul Bates, of course, Mark Bennett, Hunter, Jack Jarrett, left tackle.
And we've got just about all of them there, so let's hope we didn't forget any. But those seniors, it's the biggest senior class that we've had yet at Kentucky Wesleyan for the football team, I believe.
Oh, it is. And I give those kids credit. We had a pep assembly last week, and we talked about what these guys have done. 92 kids came when these players came, and this is all that's left. And they started out 0-10, and everybody left. But these guys didn't, and that says volumes about their character. And we're going to honor them before the game and have them introduced with their parents as they come through the tunnel. They're our players, and I tell you what, I can't respect any 13 people more than I do these guys.
I know when I've been associated with the team for the last 7 years, and I know 7 years ago they were talking about what we really need to have success in the football team is to keep the 4-year players and to have more than 1 or 2 seniors every year. And of course, this year it shows the last 2 years having those upperclassmen. That makes all the difference in the world when you have upperclassmen out of the football.
Oh, it sure does. I mean, it just makes tradition. That's how you build tradition. You also have people to look up to. You're not always the freshman have to step in right away. Yes, everybody wants to play right away, but it's a good mixture. And the last guy we forgot is Robbie Robertson.
Robbie Robertson. That is all 13, so we didn't miss any. Coach, we'll wrap it up Saturday. Of course, next Wednesday night we'll be back in the Panthers Den. We'll have a Panthers Den doubleheader with football and basketball. Any final word to the fans before the game Saturday?
I just want to thank them for all their support this year. It's been a tremendous year for me and the program. I think we've taken the next step on who we're playing. We kept seniors, the quality young men, I think, on and off the field. Great students and people that have brought the program to the next level. Coaches have been great, but the people that have been behind us, I think we've had a quality brand of football. We're exciting, we're not boring, and these people have backed us, and that's the only way you get to the next level is have great fans also, and that's what we have.
Kick off 1 o'clock Apollo Stadium, Valparaiso and Kentucky Wesleyan. We'll see you next week in the Panthers Den. Good night.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6:30 for the Kentucky Wesleyan Football Panthers Den.
Sure.